Yeah.
This is the initial meeting of the combined Forest and Conservation Committee that was set up at this year's town meeting. Today is July 19th, 2016. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. We did get the blessing of town meeting. That's why we're here, to take up the reins of this, the work that used to be encompassed by both committees. And probably the first order of business is to elect chair and vice chair and secretary. Anyone interested in being chair? I'd like to nominate Carl Davis.
Open for other nominations.
Don't look at me.
I'll second that.
Any other proposals? Okay. All those in favor of Carl Davis as chair? Okay.
Opposed?
Do we need a vice chair?
Yes.
Okay.
I definitely should.
Any nominations for vice chair? I offered to, when Carl and I were speaking about this earlier, I offered to be the secretary, but that's going to be kind of a lame duck position because I don't have good computing skills. So the arrangement was going to be that I was going to handwrite the minutes and convey them to my chair. But if that doesn't work, I'll step aside for treasurer, but I don't want to be vice chair. So if someone would raise
I
their
could
hand.
second that.
You-
I'd nominate you for vice chair. No, for secretary, actually. Yeah, I think the
well-
secretary position is great for you. So we're still on
Yeah,
co-chair,
let's
vice
get over
chair,
vice
co-chair.
Mark, you want to help me with that?
How about you, Bill?
Oh, I guess I might as
I nominate Bill.
Second? Second?
That's vice chair as the second.
All those in favor? Okay,
Now I can do it. I'll nominate you for secretary.
all right. Yeah, I'd be willing to do that if it doesn't bog us down too much. Any other notions for secretary? Okay, is there a second for that? For Wes's? Okay, all right. All those in favor of Tom Gashin running for secretary? Okay, thank you, folks. He and I and Wes, I pulled together just some information that might be pertinent for tonight's brief discussion, or we can talk about it next time we meet. This is from a March 11th, 1994 town meeting, at which time they merged the Conservation Committee with the Rec Committee, and they had a little...
I'm not sure there was a rec meeting before that.
Okay.
I think that what we did was basically to confirm what we put in the comprehensive plan.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then,
You know, I mean, this obviously is the article from the town meeting.
right. Do you suppose these duties are an abstract of the comp plan?
Probably. Well, they're not gonna be in one place, they'll be scattered out throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
The problem with the committee from what, and this is from the time I started actually being a member, from what I have gathered, is that everything that the committee has done for the town gets lost, misplaced.
Mhm.
And there were overlay maps done when the committee was, before I was on it, there were overlay maps made And the last person that anyone knew had them was Mr.
Yeah.
Gut, what was his name? He lives down here on 109 in the big red place, just before.
There are copies of those downstairs in the
And
in the
they
cabinet.
disappeared for a
And I
long
know they're
time.
down there though, because we've used them in the past.
And,
You know, the ones that
well-
Vern Walker and George Mann did.
no, not
Not
those
that-
ones.
not that one?
These were different ones.
Okay, the originals are
And
down there.
these were overlay maps that the selectmen constricted the Conservation Committee to do concerning other things, and I don't know all of it, because all the people involved, the ones that were talking about it are all dead. My mother, Kathy Long, worked on it, my mother worked on it, they were members of the Conservation Committee before I was on it.
Okay.
And this, Don Giacola, is that his name?
Giancola, yeah.
Giancola.
Yeah.
He was one of the ones that was on the committee, and
Mhm.
Kathy said that she believed he had them. He says he doesn't have them.
Yeah.
So, but that's just one item. And then we worked on the list of the cemetery, because they wanted a list of all the cemeteries in the town of Acton. We worked on that, we turned it in. And Wesley did the bulk of the work on that, compiling it all.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
And printed it off and hand-delivered it, and it's gone. It's lost.
Jen said
Yeah.
she said to me
Actually,
today,
twice it vanished.
they have the list of cemeteries, but what they don't have is the list of veterans' graves pertaining to cemeteries.
Oh,
And-
okay.
That's what they're after, I guess.
Well, that's not 100% correct, but it's pretty much. You know, and, you know,
Okay.
I had it both ways. I went back and looked for it. But
Well, this will put 3 smiles on the board of selectmen.
now that's by cemetery and that's by first name, by name.
Wow.
But, and I got it in a database because, you know, all of it done a lot of work on validating them and we keep finding them, so.
Yeah.
So you've got this in
My-
the computer now?
Oh, it's in a computer, but it's, you know, it's right, it's an old database, you know.
Wow.
I didn't go with you.
These guys aren't moving around anymore.
No, but we need to check them, you know?
Yeah.
The problem is they get buried deeper. The stones fall over. You have to reach down deeper. The duff gets like the dust under my bed, you know?
We're
It gets deeper.
coming up against land rights. People have decided they own the cemeteries that are on their
Yeah.
land, and they're
Yeah.
doing whatever they want with them.
Did-
And we're having a problem with that.
Yeah, that was,
Well, let's just do one step at a time here for a
Right,
minute.
okay, yeah, one.
Carl, do you want to chair this?
Well, you're doing a great job, Tom. You're doing a really great job.
I'll just finish up with what I,
You can be the guest. Tom.
My purpose in bringing that up is my frustration. It's a frustration of mine. We take, you know, we have never had any funding to supply us with ink or paper or any of the things that we needed to have done, to utilize to help defray the cost of all the copies that we, and the work that is done. I don't know what the committee before I got on had for funds or anything like that.
Well, the one you
And
considered.
it's frustrating to continually be asked to submit the same stuff over and
Yeah.
over again,
Yeah.
and then have them just lose it because they've thrown it away,
Yeah.
or they've misplaced it, or
Right.
whatever.
right,
And that is a very big frustration.
yeah. Well, hopefully, we can help,
we're on the same page, Tom. I had worked up an agenda because I thought there were some things that we needed to cover.
yeah,
And likewise, you know, and obviously appoint a chair. No, there's a lot of little hit points. And one of the things we gave to the selectmen years and years ago was a list of the things the Conservation Committee needed to function with.
mhm.
You know, the things that would be nice, like,
Goals or
no, just,
responsibilities?
not necessarily responsibilities, although I've got that down here, but it was just the things that we might need, like a list of the town properties, because that's one of the,
Yeah, yeah,
I think you're right in going with this, because obviously we function under a set of guidelines that the state had for conservation committees. And I don't know what the
Yeah.
forestry committee, whether the state had guidelines that you worked by, or not. That was just totally something done by the town, I believe.
Yeah, we
But,
kind of,
but conservation committees was by state statute.
right.
So those guidelines were like the inventory of wetlands. And my perspective on that is that a lot of the towns have sort of stepped back and let land trusts do it, because they seem to be able to bring in more qualified people to do it. And, but that doesn't diminish or reduce the obligation that the conservation committees were founded under. I don't know exactly what the warrant said that we voted on. I wasn't at town meeting. So whether they were still going by those state guidelines or not, I don't know.
We didn't specify, and it was indicated to me by Tom Gore more than anyone that we ought to work pretty quickly to be able to enumerate what our responsibilities or what we thought they were, and convey those to the selectmen and the voters at the earliest opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So, in going back in the records that Bill gleaned for me and Jennifer, this was the best description of that I could come up with. So, and that needs to be punched around a little bit to put it into maybe a better format, but a better wording. But it's a starting point. You know, we don't have to nail this down tonight, I don't think. But just to go back to some points that Hannah brought up, this addresses their expressed concern. I don't know what the board wants to do at some future date when we discuss what our role is to be pertaining to veterans' cemeteries and veterans' graves. I don't know if we want to get into that tonight. I hope we don't, because I think it's going to take more thinking than we want to open up tonight. What was your thinking on that? Just
cemeteries, you can spend a whole meeting just talking about it, so you're right to put it off.
okay.
I would like to mention that on Friday, Stanley Watson Arnold is coming from Connecticut with his wife, and I'm taking them to a person called Stephen Watson's grave. His little cemetery is located actually right on the boundary on the other side of the wall from me on Robert Mee's property.
Mm-hmm.
And he's an heir to Stephen Watson. He's a relative of Stephen Watson. Stephen Watson was a patriot, a Revolutionary War veteran, conscripted out of, we believe, Exeter, New Hampshire, and he was given land in Maine and moved and lived here and set up a cemetery. And as far as that we know, there's only 3 graves in there, but we haven't, there's so much trees and growth in there.
There was a stone for his wife, but there's not a stone for him, so
And
there's
this
not a marked
guy,
stone. so-
Stanley, is gonna,
Yeah.
he's gonna get a stone for Stephen
Mhm.
Watson.
Mhm.
So that's gonna be a good thing. I'm meeting with him, and anyone who wants to meet, I don't know what time he's actually gonna meet with me. He's gonna call me to give me a more finalized time. But anyone who wants to meet, I can make sure, wants to go there, where I can make sure that they get called and notified if you're interested.
Okay, well, I personally agree with you that it's quite a topic to get into, and I don't know if we want to get engaged in it this evening, but,
I know that Ed Walsh wanted to be in on that conversation.
okay, okay. Yeah, the feedback I got pertaining to what they've been talking about as a board was that they wanted to affix whose responsibility it was, and to have some accountability in terms of the expenditures, you know, when a certain number of flags are asked for, they want to make sure that those are the ones that are utilized, that kind of thing. Just so, which sounds reasonable. But I think your point too, Hannah, is we have to, right from the outset, ask for maybe a little more diligent record keeping on this thing, and have a certain file in the computer or something that,
I don't keep anything on my computer concerning the town.
yeah.
I have an unsupported system, and the only thing I keep on my computer is my farm records. So I don't keep anything, everything I have is written.
Yeah. I'm not even computer literate, so,
Mom, this is my veterans records, and they're all, I had to pay for them from my mother's estate.
yike.
That's it, right there. And I have a notebook that I transfer information onto when I go out into the cemeteries. So this is what I
Started with.
have, that's what I started with.
You folks that were on the previous Conservation Committee as kind of the brain trust of that activity, so as a subcommittee or something, you may want to kind of formulate, maybe we'll listen to what Ed has to say and then formulate what your response wants to be or something, but
Yeah.
is that,
I don't have any problem with trying to keep better records as far as the money goes. They get the bill every year, that's my records.
I don't think it's a big issue. I think it's just the kind of thing that they like to say, we've done it this way and we've done it, there's accountability. I think
Yeah.
that's all they're after.
Yeah, okay.
Would the three of you folks, the former conservation group, want to just kind of
Yeah, we can clean it up.
formulate that?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it may be worthwhile to come in somewhere. I had some paperwork today. I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but the selectmen are now meeting. They have some kind of an odd schedule now. There's a handout on it, which I'll have to grab some more copies of. I'll read it out briefly, but good luck making sense of it. A member of the Board of Selectmen will now have office hours at the Acton Town Hall the first, second, and third Thursday of each month from 5:30 to 6:30. The purpose of these office hours is so that selectmen can be available to the public to hear any thoughts or concerns they may have. I won't read the rest of it. To avoid the necessity of having a quorum or a public meeting, there will only be one selectman here at a time during this posted hours. So you'll be able to get a hold of them at some odd hours that might be more convenient than trying to bring it up on a Tuesday night with them when they have their schedule is usually pretty full, I'll pass this around to you guys if you want to take some notes on it, but I just need it back. The only other bit of business that I wanted to share with the whole group was the idea that has been conveyed to us through the venue of the Land Trust, that there is some monies available, and Carl, you might know the numbers better on this, for a project that is trail related. I don't know if I don't know the amounts, I don't know the scope that has been considered for the trail, but one thing that popped up during early discussions the other day was, this was a land trust group that was talking about this. The Hebo-Hybel Road being shared by Acton and Lebanon, there may be some resources available to upgrade that to a trail that is not that is pedestrian friendly, that maybe doesn't have the imperfections that are out there now due to ATV and off-road vehicle. And it would be an interesting project. It was suggested for the two towns to kind of collaborate on. And I think Lee had said there was $1,000 or something available
$1,800.
as a grant. And it would be kind of administered through Southern Maine Regional as the one that has retained the, I guess we'd be making a grant application to them.
You know that they've been dumping sheet rock into the swamp along the side of the road so they can use their mudding trucks out there?
No, I haven't been out there in an age. The last time I was out there was,
I mean, I don't, somebody that knows more than me, I don't know how you get them off the road.
I don't know either.
Before we stopped going for dog walks there occasionally, I mean, we've met people like from Tennessee that heard that it was a good place to go and drive off-road. I mean,
Well,
It's not ATVs, it's the mudding trucks. They have a huge pit out there, and it's where the swamp comes right up to the side of the road. So you got the stream that runs beside the road heading towards Lebanon, and this may be in Lebanon. I walked a long way that day, and,
how
yeah, I
long
didn't
ago was
cross
this?
that
Ian?
bridge, so.
When would you guess this was?
And, what was it? It was a year ago, June. It was a year ago, it was last year,
Yeah.
2015. And I was just devastated by the fact that the only thing you can smell for probably at least a mile is gas and oil.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even smell the woods. And my nose isn't as good as it used to be, but, you know, that's all I could smell.
Yeah.
Dead turtles, dead animals on the side of the road, you know, from the swamp that they've run over. And, I mean, that's a casualty on any road, but the thing is that this is a dirt road, and nobody goes down there except for these people. And then when I came across that area, and I just stood there, I just stood there like, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this is happening, and nobody knows about it. And it's right there, the swamp, you can see the swamp from where you're standing. And they had to literally put stuff in because it got too wet, evidently. So they threw big, huge, 4x8, I mean, it's like they went and bought a whole bundle from Big Lots and, you know, and just threw it in there. And all I could think of was, I wonder if that's the sheetrock from China that was condemned because of the chemicals in it. And the stream comes, and then you go up the road, keep headed towards Milton Mills Road, because that's the direction I was walking in, and you come across the stream, and I'm like, gee, okay, so I didn't go the other way, but there was a stream the other way, because the swamps are connected by the streams. And I mean, I don't know the contours of the land out there that well. You know, Wesley's, that's more his forte, but I'm not an ignorant human being. I know that water flows, it's flowing in that direction because that's the way the slope of the land is going. This is an interruption in that feed of land. That swamp feeds into something. And therefore, it's carrying whatever is in that mud from those vehicles downstream. And we all live downstream from some body of water. And I was just really, really disturbed by it. We talked about it at our committee meeting. And basically, I don't have any idea what to do, other than to report it to the rangers.
Well, maybe we can
Have a sidewalk?
have some good effect on work toward a solution.
Yeah.
That's maybe the best we can hope for.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the hopes with this trail, it could very closely connect with the railroad bed that goes into Springvale, which is monitored. Trucks can't go on it, ATVs can, but big trucks can. I mean, there's an opening big enough for an ATV, that's it, with that trail. I think if the trail got to the point where, you know, we were applying for funding to improve the trail, it could be similar to the railroad bed in that sense, and that would keep the trucks.
Is this an off-terrain, what's the definition of the trail? Is it just a walking trail that the grant's for?
It depends what the grant is for.
Okay,
Originally,
so-
when Sanford got the grant, it was a multi-purpose grant. As of now with the rail bed, they can exclude motorized use on it, which is the direction they're gonna go in. It'd be bikes, walking, cross-country skiing. I think most of these trails will allow snowmobiling because of, it's not doing the damage that the trucks and the ATVs are doing. I think if you could get that trail, you know, the funding to upgrade it like the rail bed, make it non-motorized, it'd be a pretty nice place for people to walk and bike and,
So is this actually gonna be the road, or is it gonna be beside the road?
it would be the road.
So what is the status of the road?
Right.
Because there are people that are building
Right
houses
away.
back in there.
Isn't that a right of way to people that own the land down there?
That's initially what this money was for initially, was to reach out to landowners to see if they would grant easements, you know, right-of-way easements.
Because the
for a
cemetery
trail.
owns the first leg of that on our end. They own to the center line.
I think all the landowners own to the center line, is the way I understood it, right? So that's initially what this money, this $1,500, was to reach out to landowners to see if you could get landowners to agree that, you know, this could be turned into a,
But what's the status of the road on the town level?
that would have to be looked into, I don't know.
I
Tom might know better.
Well, just to stir a memory, when, last time I was out there was with Frank Varrock and a few other folks on the Town Forest Committee. I think Steve was with us that day, Steve Botkin. And Stephen's a member of this committee as well. And I thought he had claimed that because it's an interesting layout, the two respective town forests, well, they're separated by Ridley's land, right? They don't abut one another, but it's like you go up to the town line of Lebanon, and there's town forest, I think, on both sides there, or at least one side. And then as you cross over into Lebanon, there's a piece of the land that Wilbur Jones conveyed to Roger and Karen Ridley. And then there's the Lebanon Town Forest as you proceed southward. So the two of those town-owned parcels, more or less abutting one another, I thought I recollected that Steve said it's town-owned property, i.e. any Acton citizen has the right of passage to access that property. I mean, that's common law. Wesley, you folks on the Conservation Committee previously know more about this than I do, but I thought it was common law that if you have an interior parcel on an abandoned road, you do have right of passage.
But it's the status of the abandoned road, because we've been having a hard time establishing that on a piece of property that my mother and father owned. The status of an abandoned road, and what's the other terminology that was used?
Discontinued road.
Discontinued
Yeah,
road, they're different.
Yeah,
The
we got-
status of them
yeah.
is different.
But,
And it's all about when the town
Yeah,
voted, or when the town, or if the town voted to abandon it, or
or discontinue it.
or just continue it.
Yeah.
It all depends on the date that happened,
yeah,
on whether or not a person owns the road, when he owns both sides of the road.
uh-huh,
That would include, I would assume that would include the town, but I'm not sure.
yeah.
My thing is that, okay, you have the town forest back there, so what happens when the town selectmen say, okay, the town forester says, okay, it's time to harvest timber? What happens to the trail then, or what happens?
Yeah, with the trail in Springvale, the rail trail, you know, there is a gate. I actually own some property on that trail with my brothers. If you want to log, you get permission from the town, basically to use that right of way for that period of time, you know, to do a logging operation. So it doesn't preclude any type of activity like that, you know, but it's a communication with the town so that they know that that's what's going on in there, and I think part of the stipulation is if, you know, if the trail is fixed up like the rail bed is, if you're in there logging, then you've gotta leave the trail as you
As
found
you
it.
found it, right. Okay.
And down there have been, you know, several logging operations, but it seems to have worked out okay. I mean, the trail, it's in relatively pretty good shape down there, but they've obviously put some money into it with some, you know, federal dollars and things like that. But it's definitely, they've made a base that it's pretty hard for even the ATVs to ruin. I mean, not that they don't try, but, you know, but it's held up pretty well, from what when I go on it, yeah.
Had you folks ever done any committee-related detective work on the status of that road and dates of abandonment, et cetera, and what the terms of?
The committee hasn't tackled that one at all.
I always just assumed it was a right-of-way since it's
Okay. Well, let me just step back. Is this something, a project that we're interested in taking on and maybe bring it up to an initial awareness level of on our own, and then convey our thoughts to the select board and see what they, because the reason I'm wanting to act on it in a preliminary way pretty soon is there seems to be a short timeline to that availability of that grant money. So maybe we could take a sense of the board vote in terms of whether we should just convey to Southern Maine Regional that this is something, an area of interest, and we would be, all it is to apply to pursue the loan. I think that's the initial step. We're not making any commitments here or anything, but is that something folks are interested in, you think?
I think it's probably would help with a lot of the problems that are going on out there right now with those big muddy trucks. I can't say the word, but I think it would be, it may, you know, if we did something to make it more public for bikes and things like that, there might be less, because it used to be an area for them to dump trash. I didn't see any dumped trash. That was the only thing I didn't see, other than the sheetrock that was obviously put there by the mudders themselves. So I think it would be a really good idea.
Show of hands, you want to pursue this, I guess?
Yep.
Well, we'll do a little research from Colin and I together with Southern Maine Regional and bring some information back to you next time we meet. I'm all done, Colin.
You're all done?
Yeah.
Well, let's follow Wesley's agenda.
Thank you for this, Wes.
Treasurer's report. I mean, I have no idea. Do we have money? I don't know.
Well, he raised that, you know, talking about the monies, and that's basically what we've had monies for, was for the cemetery stuff, so.
Yeah.
I think we should curtail it until we see what Ed has got to say, you know,
We spent $1,000 on a stone for a cemetery. We spent $1,000 on a stone, and I spent $750 on flags and holders this spring. So the stone still needs to be mounted. The $1,000 was not just for the stone, but it was also for the mounting. It was a stone that was broken. We were going to have the stone repaired, and then the cemetery itself got desecrated by somebody, and the stone piece that was broken off just was
Disappeared.
As far as we can tell, it was marble, and we think it just got chopped up into little pieces and thrown out somewhere or hauled off, because we couldn't find it after that. Luckily, I had the information all written down, because all the information was on the part that broke off. So we had it replaced, but it hasn't been mounted yet. It's in the cemetery, but it's not mounted yet, and I've got to pursue that, because that's part of the cost of the $1,000 fee was for the whole thing, mounting and everything.
So how does that work? Do you bring invoices to the selectmen, or how does it work?
I contacted the selectmen, asked them to, if I was able to pursue getting a new stone. I talked with in this particular situation, I talked with the cemetery people that maintain the cemetery, and they had no records of anybody to contact as far as family. And so, and I went from, and then the selectman said to order the stone. I got the pricing, and I ordered the stone. And it was delivered this spring, so.
Other than that, we used to spend money, we have a membership in the Maine Association of Conservation
Yeah,
Commissions.
that's,
Yeah,
And they would just send me a bill and I would just give it to Michelle.
Yep.
and the bill, and the bill for the flags and all of that is sent directly to them. He emails me, the flag person that I get the flags from, he emails me. I don't do any bidding, I don't do any of that. If the selectmen wanna do that, I don't wanna do that. I don't wanna do it. If they wanna put out bids for the flags, then they can more than likely, I feel that if they wanna put out bids, then they should put out bids.
Yep.
They want me to go someplace else to buy flags, I will, but I don't think I should have to go through the bid process. For that, same with the stones. I don't think that anybody is gonna offer them any cheaper, you know?
and there's the replacement stones, and every once in a while, there's work that has to be done on broken ones, or standing them back up, so. It's the same thing, it's all money against.
Perhaps that's the wrong way to go about it because it's town money, so, and everything, but.
I guess we could certainly continue that conversation when Ed Walsh, comes to the meeting when we discuss.
Well, one of the things that we got told as a committee was, that they wouldn't help fix any stones that weren't, that we had to pursue family members and get and if we found a living heir, we had to get that heir to pay for the stone replacement. So, and that's one set of selectmen. So every time the selectmen change,
Yeah.
you might get a different
Yep.
thing. So,
Oh, maybe that's something that we could make a decision
yeah, put
how we
something,
wanted to codify that and take it to the voters
Yeah.
if need be, once we pull that issue together and,
Okay, well, that'll probably be on our agenda for the next meeting. Is this the Willie Stone, is that the one you've been talking about?
yep,
Yep.
Samuel Willie, yep. Yep, Samuel Willie is the one that we got the new stone for.
So,
What cemetery
It's
is
up
it
at
in?
the Acton Corner Cemetery. He's a Civil War veteran, I believe,
Yep. Yep.
so.
Okay, new business, warrant overview, discussion of duties and responsibilities, role of selectmen, monies.
I think we just discussed that, basically, but,
Go ahead.
as I said, I didn't see what the warrant article spelled out, and that's what we're dealing with.
it was pretty short and sweet. It's just Article 7 there.
Okay, so I'm assuming that the establishment of this new committee has got nothing to do with the establishment of what was there for conservation, so my previous statement about state statutes for this committee probably is null and void.
Oh, no, no. I think we have to.
I think we
still
have
abide
to.
by- Yeah.
It's just so, you know, as I say, to abolish the existing, so creating a new, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, we're gonna have to go and look at those state statutes that
Right.
pertain, and I've got that, and I might even have it out in the car, as to what the state was back then, but, you know, whether they've appended that state statute on those. I know they found, you can speak to that more than I can. I know that the conservation committees have been, the powers of them has been subject to some discussion. At the,
I mean, it's not the, I mean, the first one was 1973, and
Yep.
I think there were a couple of revisions after that.
If-
There hasn't been anything recent.
If those, because of the current political climate, maybe have
Right,
been,
that's
have
exactly
been
what it
watered
is.
down, we need not abide by the dilution, if that's a nice way to say it. We can always be, because of home rule, we can always be more stringent.
yeah, I
But we
certainly,
have to
Concur
maintain
with that.
compliance.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't
I
think,
just
we-
meant that that's why we don't have a new state thing, because the Maine Conservation Commission decided it was gonna work on that, and then we were told that it probably wouldn't be a smart thing to try and do, you know, it was fairly
Yeah.
obvious.
can we save that for another meeting when you pull that together for
Mhm.
discussion?
Mhm.
Okay, role of selectmen?
Yeah, you know, we have not had a lot of selectmen interfacing with the Conservation Committee. And it's probably a good idea that they do once in a while. And so I just wanted to bring it up as a point of discussion, you know.
I think the way I understood it at one of the selectmen's meetings I was at recently, that each selectman has 2 or 3 committees in
Yeah,
town
yeah.
that they're supposed to attend the meetings.
I know.
I thought, I guess from now on, obviously, I'll let Ed know.
Mm.
I assumed he knew about this meeting, and
It's
obviously.
been the same time, same place for
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the
it's,
last 20 years.
at least in the last 8 years,
He
I've
came
seen
once.
three selectmen on 3 occasions.
To our committee.
Yeah, I
He's
mean,
come
it's,
one time.
I'm just repeating what I heard at the
Yeah,
meeting.
okay.
They were really gonna
Okay.
make an effort, but
Yeah.
we'll have to
Well,
wait and see. Time will tell.
They came once,
Yeah.
and,
Well, one of the duties I remember from the initial was, it was an advisory committee with no regulatory capacity, like the planning board, you know. But, and so it just, you know, I just want clarity on what the role with the select people are. You know, if we go back and read those statutes, it might be still the same. It's still meant to be a advisory committee without any regulation, any capacity to pass law or,
Yeah.
you know. But, and yet the forestry is slightly, as it was set up, to my understanding, is slightly different than that, you know, but it's,
We can't regulate anything, but we can propose.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And monies?
I just did the general discussion, do you think this committee ought to have monies, other than cemetery monies, at all? I mean, I don't know what
we can only spend the money on a veteran's grave. We can't spend it on their spouses, even though a spouse can be buried in a veteran cemetery. If it's a veteran cemetery, a spouse can be buried, get the stone and everything. But we can't spend money on the spouse's gravestones. We can't spend money on, I don't know if we're allowed to spend money on the upkeep of the wall around the cemetery that has the veterans in it.
Yeah.
That's something that we haven't pursued.
Would get real expensive.
Well, some of it, it's just a matter of getting somebody to put a stone back up onto the, line it onto the wall, like out at, the Hersom Cemetery in, on Acton Ridge Road.
Mhm.
The stone has, the wall is made out of big granite cut block, and one of them is tipped over, and it's actually leaning against a stone that isn't a veteran. There's a veteran
Yeah.
buried in that cemetery, but
Wow.
it's leaning against it. It needs to be righted. It just needs somebody who knows how to do stone stuff and lever it back up there.
It's just corollary, issues that go along with it, like how is that money rolled over if you don't spend it, and there's just some general points that we need to be aware of,
I have a friend, I won't divulge his name, but I'll talk to him about maybe volunteering for some tasks like that.
And then we have some tree work that needs to be done, and we've had firefighters that they have been trained to cut trees, that have volunteered to do it, but it's a matter of getting together with them, taking them to the cemetery, showing them what needs to be done. The Young Cemetery, which is a cemetery that the town is conscripted to take care of. The big, is it a pine or is that a pine or is it a spruce?
Where is this?
The one up on Youngs Ridge Road, where Ruth
Oh, I think
Brown's
it-
husband's buried.
I think it was a spruce that was down, yeah.
It's
Spruce
uprooted,
was-
it got
yeah.
uprooted in a storm,
Hemlock or
It's a
spruce, I
really
don't
big
remember.
tree.
It was an evergreen.
and it's growing in the cemetery, and it's leaning out, and now it's leaning out over the fence, and it's gonna eventually fall, it needs to be cut down, but it's a big tree. That's a big tree. Arborist costs a lot of money, but that's what most people have to get,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to a cemetery because of the walls and the stones, So,
Now, one of the things that brought us to a standstill a while back, was pursuing the interest of a GPS device to locate those cemeteries. And, that means monies if you go out and buy one, or if the town has one, or somebody might donate the time, but that, those are, I can't think of what this committee would need monies for, but, if, GPSing those cemeteries is a question. I do have a file that I have roughly done it with, but I'm not an expert on it. I think there's one that I don't have the GPS number for, but, whether it seems to fit the town data set, what they have, I'll take a look and say, okay, that's what they say is a GPS for the corner of that property. But that's something that might come up, I mean, we talk about overlays and everything else, that technology is with us, whether we like it or not.
we had, we had one person who was going in and he was just cutting down any little tiny growth that was coming in the cemetery, and he got chased off by the ranger, because the landowner called and told him that he couldn't go in there and cut any trees out of that cemetery. It belonged to this person. And I was always told that a cemetery doesn't belong to you just because you own the land around it. But it belongs to the heirs of the people that are buried there.
Just going back, a point on the economic issue there. There is a town forest reserve account, which is currently proposed to bolster the Romac Orchard purchase. And when we were raising the general question of what might be our, financial
Yep.
resources, that fund was created to be the repository of any proceeds from timber sales on town forest land. So that would be, that's a standing, whatever the term is, fund, and I would hope that
The
would.
original purpose was for the Conservation Committee, went before they were separated from forestry, to buy land in the town.
Right, right.
So
And-
what you're doing now is what it was for,
Is what?
is what it was for.
Yeah, it's just too bad that 25-acre piece is so damn expensive, but it's part of the trail concept of that thing, so anyway. But I think that maybe we ought to restate that, the purpose and the existence and the purpose of that fund, just to clarify that point on your agenda there, when we meet with the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, let's see, terms of elected officers.
Yeah, I wasn't there, I didn't know who had
Oh,
we had what for terms. And
I'm
I-
1 year, I know that.
You're one, I guess
I'm
I'm
one.
3, I don't know.
I'm one.
Tom and Carl were 3, because we figured
Okay.
we were the instigators of this plot, so.
All right, so you took,
We're gonna accept the, whatever.
Steve's permanent, so we can just put a P.
Right.
And you're for 2? What? He's 4, okay.
Yeah, it was Bill and Wes were 2.
All right, we got it. That was just for my own old curiosity.
Yeah. And the, well, procedures and regs were.
I think we need to look at the warrants, the 2 warrants, did the original, and then rethink what we might want to add or whatever, and see what it floats,
Yeah.
you know. There did not seem to be any guiding things from the
No,
town
there's
meeting, so,
nothing.
yeah. So that's, but I do think, I agree with Tom Gore, I guess, that we need to really push forward on it.
Just defining what our mission is. And
Yeah, that's basically what I mean by task, but the regulations were, you know, all these committees have little standing rules, like if you don't show up for 3 meetings in a row or something. Not that I want to enforce those, but how, if it's a 7-man board, how many does it take to make a legal vote, you know?
Oh,
4?
we can nail
kind
that
of-
down right
just-
now.
Just nail that stuff kind of down, yeah.
Wouldn't it be 4?
Called quorum.
Yeah,
The quorum's gonna be 4.
then I don't see why it couldn't be 3, since I don't imagine that Steve will show up that often.
That's up to the board.
Well, can you step in, in role of alternates, you know, an alternate, you know, on the planning board can step up and take a role if they vote, do they vote to approve? You vote to approve an alternate's right to step up to a meeting, don't you?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that same process would work here.
Well, we don't have an alternate. You know, we didn't
Okay,
do
right,
that through town
right,
meetings.
so-
Um,
So it's gonna just be the quorum, I would say.
Yeah, but
Four.
to Bill's point, what should we make of that? I guess that makes sense.
We just deal with it when we have to somehow.
Yeah.
Fly. Probably came with me.
So what do we settle on, 3 or 4?
I think 4.
4, you think 4 makes? more
Yeah, I
sense?
think 4 is probably get more legality to it, but,
Yeah.
Okay.
but
4,
Everybody on board with that? Okay.
I think that's it. It's more than half the committee,
yeah.
yep.
yeah.
It's just going on that. I know the original ones, the overview was like wetlands inventory, open space, large parcel inventory, that kind of thing, you know, it's just the same thing you know.
You have some verbiage pertaining to that somewhere?
Yeah, I'm sure I
'Cause we
can
could,
pop that together.
we could bring in some maps just to show you what Three Rivers would have to fulfill some of those things. It only goes down to, I think, 2 acres is what we mapped.
We were looking at the beginnings with Habitat, because they numbered them. So that sequence is, and they didn't codify the maps, that's in that, you know, they didn't tell us what the maps actually, the color lines actually meant, but they did give each wetlands a number. So I assume that there's a database behind those, whether we can get that database, I'm not sure, but other than the map. It's sometimes nice to see the data that a map is generated from, you know? I've always found that useful.
How many of those did you have done and what did they cover?
How many years, what?
How many of those maps did you have done and what did they cover? 'Cause
There was a
Oh, beginning
there
with
was a
Habitat?
wetland map.
yeah, well, they all say for Three Rivers Land Trust, so I
Yeah.
thought,
That all came, that all came from the state, but
Right.
they were just offering it to us.
Oh, you saw them at the library?
yes.
Yeah.
We have
I
a
mean, I've
set,
read the books up here, but I hadn't seen the maps before.
Yeah.
we have all that available, readily available, so if you wanted to use that as your baseline data or whatever, that would be a great place to start. I don't see that being added to in terms of something as simple as the wetlands inventory. They did that was probably just all aerial surveillance, unless you want to get down to vernal pools or something size.
And the open space was basically, large parcels. It's the same stuff you use,
Yeah.
if we just wanted to try to take it from the existing tax maps and play with it. And
There wasn't, what they call it, unfragmented blocks, a map from beginning with Habitat. We'll bring those in next time we come, just to
Okay.
show you what's what, if you haven't. Are they available in the library?
They were, did,
Springville.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm
well, I
not,
think Ken's got a set,
Yeah.
and
and there
then
was a set out here in the office at
Land
one
Trust
time.
has got a
There
set,
was
and
a
I've
set
got a
out
set
here.
at home.
There was a set out here at one time.
When you could go down the hallway.
Yeah, it was there.
Probably they're down at Kenny's office. But
Now, Dennis Long, when he was select person, afterwards, when he gave up this committee, he brought in the list of town-owned properties, because that was one of the things that they had oversight of, was not, it was just to advise the select people on conservation relative to any town part, and we've been asked questions on those before, but I don't know what the town owns in terms of,
you would think that either Michelle or
yeah.
Jen would be able to dredge that material up
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
tax.
Yeah, well,
Some of them are pretty tricky. One turned out to be a piece of somebody's driveway.
yeah, it can be, and it just,
It's hard to configure anyways.
I mean, I'm not overly interested in little tiny parcels that are,
Some of them are so
Some really
small
edges,
that,
but, if you found that there was a half a mile on the Lower Mountain Pond that had been undeveloped, I think my ears might prick up real quick. I mean, we've had those issues with the planning board years ago,
Do you folks have a record of that, or do you want me to take that on just to talk to Jennifer and/or Michelle and try to bring up a list?
Well, I've got what Dennis gave us way back, but
Yeah,
that's
we
10 years
haven't
old,
gotten
that's
any
that's 10 years
I'll
old,
find out what they've got on record.
so. And we've talked about the town forest as a trail on the road. How the town might want to use the rest of the parcel, in terms of what's
has
there.
anyone made any forays into, putting trails in on the back piece of the rec land?
Not to my knowledge. I know Bill has
I walked around.
shared that with me sometimes, that you had that as a notion that you might tackle at some point, but
I was always under the impression when it was bought that that's what was gonna end up happening.
that's what was spoken of, yeah.
And it's never been pursued by anyone that I know of.
Right.
And I don't know if it's because the wetland that's back there, why they
Yeah.
dropped it.
I think that
Here's the parking
the parking, the access to vehicles and parking on the side road has always been a bit of a stickler, But
That's coming in from,
from the other side, it definitely is because of the land dips off, but, it's.
But they have a parking area right there by the game fields.
Yeah, so,
They keep it blocked off and locked, nobody can utilize it unless it's being actually utilized by the rec fields.
yeah,
I understand their concern for vandalism, but if there were trails there, I mean, people go down to the Mary Grant, I've had people tell me, they go down there and they do cross-country skiing in the winter. If they
Yeah,
couldn't
that's-
access it, they wouldn't go.
Yeah.
So if you keep it inaccessible, then people can't go and use it for anything. And I don't know how, I don't know that much about the rec, as far as the rec itself is concerned, the organization, the town committee that's in charge of the rec field. I don't know that much about
I don't
their
know.
process or anything.
I
But,
think they're trying to get,
At the moment, the
actively
roads
looking
are
for
not-
volunteers on that.
yeah, okay.
But that definitely is what I mean by public parcels.
Right.
That's one. Yeah, obviously, the Mary Grant's a public parcel, and it's
Yeah.
being served well. I mean, people really enjoy it, and that's nothing but positive. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
and, you know, if we have good luck with the town forest, maybe we can take a look at the town farm in terms of what might be done with that eventually, you know.
We did walk the town forest, town farm piece with Steve Bodkin. When was that? Maybe
Spring.
spring we
Yeah,
did?
yeah.
Yeah, it was spring, because the road was kind of half melted.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
It was springtime. Because there was a cut down in there, I think, the early 80s or middle 80s, something like that, was the last time that was cut.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it was. So we didn't walk the whole parcel. Take a look at it. And we talked about setting up a walk in the town forest parcel on the Hebo Road, which I think at some point this committee probably should take a look over there and see what, I think there was a cut done on that much more recently, probably what,
Yeah,
10 years ago?
I don't know if I brought that paper.
That's where the money came from that's
Mm.
going towards
Mm.
Goat Hill project.
It's a long ways to get to either of those.
I know it.
Yeah.
Yes,
You're
it
right.
is.
And the roads aren't.
No, we understand.
Yeah, the roads aren't good, that's either one, either way.
Town
Well,
farm,
the problem
they
with
keep
the
washing
private
out.
ones that you don't get it, we go up,
You what?
have to go up. It's pretty steep right off the road.
Oh, on the right side, the
Yeah.
left side isn't, but yeah, the
Yeah.
right side is, you're right, yeah, right.
I think when they cut that, when Stephen did the management plan on that, and I recollect that there was a simultaneous work done on the Lebanon side, or maybe it was the Rogers piece.
Rogers piece was cut.
And I think David did both parcels, and they went out toward Potter's Place. They didn't
They
come.
did, they went out that way, yeah.
It was better going, and,
Yeah, because I don't remember any log cut trucks coming out by the school.
No.
No.
but Steve, I thought I had it in my pack today, but I've dug out Stephen's management plan on that, so he has some records on that, what was done, what the prospects were for regeneration, and, you know, it would be an interesting project to see where he's at with that and what may or may not be done with it, you know, in terms of his management plan.
They have, there's been a lot of cutting in town, you know, private land cutting in town, it seems like this year. It's like, I don't, maybe it goes on every year, it's just in areas of town that I don't go by all the time, but it just seems like the south end of town has been hit pretty heavy this year. Is that normal? Or is it just because
No.
people are selling or getting ready to sell their land, so they're timbering it first?
First, yeah, that could be, yeah.
Plus it's mature, so
Yeah.
it's time to gut it.
Yeah, well, from what I can see, they're doing a good job. They're not, you know, they're not doing like
Running
what they
over.
did to my mother's land. So, looks good.
Yeah, that is good. So anyway, yeah, we'll, you know, organize some walks. Fall's a good time, I think, to do that sort of thing, once the deer flies and west flies let up a little bit.
They have been bad, haven't they?
Pretty bad right now.
Yeah, gee.
Walking out there right now.
All of the ticks.
And the
And the
ticks.
ticks.
Maybe in the fall, we could take a walk on those two properties, yeah. And with Steve, obviously, get Steve to walk with us and kind of discuss it a little bit as we go. Yeah.
Well, the next thing I listed there is just something we've done. You know, we've had the conservation contest, poster contest, we've had the
Yeah,
select,
we haven't had any. in a
we haven't had
while.
it for 2 years. It's been 2 years, but we did it for 2 or 3 years. And,
They were actually pretty popular.
yeah,
Um,
I know, the guy that's with Moose Mountain Regional Greenways, they did them down in New York, and said they're awful good for conservation committees. And Fletcher. He
Oh,
said
Keith Fletcher,
He
yeah.
thought that they were a low-key way of conservation, keeping out in front of the public.
Yeah.
And it seemed like they probably are, because it gets the kids involved,
Sure,
you know?
sure.
And
Yeah.
the same thing, we've done a couple of times, we've done cemetery displays at the town meetings or something, just, or I think one time we did something with Halloween, believe it or not, for the schools. No, the schools did it. It was something the schools wanted, and it was just,
Relating to the cemeteries?
yeah, really, they just wanted to know, that they,
Famous acting ghost.
famous, no, it really wasn't, I say you,
No comment.
no comment, but there are things. Not something I did, but,
We had a sense of humor, anyway.
who's in your cemetery, right?
Oh, that was
I
one of
think
the-
on the next one, you mentioned, working with other groups.
Yeah,
Um,
we've done a lot with prep.
Yeah,
We've attended a number of meetings with
Yeah.
the prep, and obviously Mika is important to us.
What's Mika?
State
Maine.
Maine Association.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I know the Three Rivers work across the state line.
Yeah.
You do a lot you got something coming up tomorrow down where they were at Great East Lake.
what's that? Oh, they
Great-
paddle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. And I think this, if something can happen with the Hebo Harbor, would be really nice, because it would be the two conservation commissions kind of working together
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
project,
Yeah.
which,
I'd like to see probably something more done with the Saco River corridor. We we never got into that. And it probably would be something that, I don't know how much much you deal with, that with the Francis Small and group, but I know you do some with the Three Rivers, but, that's, I don't know what kind of assistance there is on projects in that watershed, but we were mentioning about some fragile, unique habitats up there that are under the radar.
Does the Little Ospey end up in Saco?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, I know that the town has always had an article on the warrant relative to the corridor. And it's just, need to get up to speed on it, so,
Okay. Workshops.
We used to have them for every other, once a month, we had a workshop. We've done it by spells, things like,
We could work
things
on
like that, cemetery, it might be good to keep it away from the regular agenda. Yeah, 'cause I don't know why that issue can take up so much time, but it does.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Okay.
We walked out quite a ways on the Peck Road from, going in from the Sandburn end, remember? That was quite an excursion.
Coming in from the Salmon Road?
We found that well.
Oh, yeah, we've found a number of different places from taking walks,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, fine.
there's an old farmhouse out there, and there's an old well out there, and there's an old cemetery out there.
We do get, relative to stones, we get the people, like there's a guy down from, the doctor from Bethesda, Maryland, that was interested in the Gilman Cemetery, and he's 2 Revolutionary War soldiers. Well, one is definitely, the stone's still there, but it wasn't recognized as a Rev soldier until we did.
Yeah.
And chances are his father's buried there too, since he's not buried down in Newmarket where he comes from. And he was in town, and now the father-in-law is a Willie that died in town, also a Revolutionary War vet, but nobody seems to know. That section up, you go past the Gilman Cemetery up behind Al Bunker's, what was Al Bunker's is the cemetery on the right, but if you went up there probably a mile and a half, junction of the roads used to be called Willie Road, Willie District. You know, back in the old town records, you know, they referred to that as a separate area, you know. It's like down from the Edgecombe Road, that Cowlsboro. I mean, I always referred to it as Cowlsboro because, you know, my grandmother's people had land down in their way back, and there's nothing there, but it used to be quite a little junction, you know. You know, and there are those spots, you know, the town's changes, you know.
Right.
You know, Acton Corners, where is it? I think we're sitting in it, but it used to be a corner. But it used to be a four-way. You know, but no one.
All right.
So it was just, you know, if we want them, this time of year probably isn't really good, but in the wintertime, you know,
Right.
it might be good to have a workshop to work on maybe inventory databases and just sit there and put something that's more specific to us than what they did for the beginnings of Habitat.
Yeah.
You know, at least say, okay, let's look at it and say what's of most interest to us.
Right.
You know, I mean, we've done it. We've spent a little bit of time doing that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
but again, it's almost informational gathering as opposed to expediting something.
All right.
Not key to any specific project.
Well, the only time that we were conscripted to do anything was when they were gonna put in the trash recovery down where the old packing house was.
Yeah, we wrote a letter of recommendation to the selectmen, and that was given to Hannah, to my best of my understanding. So, again, it was at
Nancy
advisory.
Roma was still
Yeah.
select woman then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when that was going on.
Going on. Yeah. Let's see, discussion agenda going forward.
No, I think we've discussed a big part of it, you know, you should, you know.
Well, I mean, we've spoken of, at our next meeting, maybe pulling together some kind of a preliminary statement, if everybody has time to look at the little handout that I passed out initially. And we can knock around the results of what we've come back with for the trail grant proposal.
I guess we elected officers.
Yeah, we did that, yeah.
Got that done.
I did say committee needs, and as I said, this was just loose from what I handed them before, and, you know, GIS data capacity or GPS systems, I don't know. I know it's something that,
Can you do that?
no. I'm not licensed to do that, I'm not certified to do that in any way, shape, and form, but it's just,
Stephen would be a resource for
yeah,
that.
yeah, it'd be nice if somebody, you know, if somebody says, where is this? I know, not to pick on, Shapley has inventoried a lot of things, and even things of concern, it would be nice to have that capacity. The lakes, you know, one of the things I got down here is the availability of different maps, and we've already discussed that, you know, having those that we could look at if we needed would be nice. List of the properties we already had, detailed town forest properties. Well, eventually I think we might like to look at what's there from a little closer review.
I'm working on pulling that together for you folks from, Jennifer was a great help today in providing me all the tax maps, so I'm pasting together 8 different tax maps to show you the whole Acton Hebo-Hypo stretch, and we're gonna try to get some help from the Lebanon folks to do the same for their end, so I'll have that for you next time.
Yeah, the lake stuff is obviously, you know, you can't separate Acton from its lakes.
Right.
And, you know, just to you have somebody stay up on it, you know, just concerns. You know, I know we've had people come in and say, what's going on with that sand and gravel on Mausen? How did that get through, you know? What's going on?
I was very heartened by the process that unfolded with the proposal to consider exemptions to the resource protection zoning, and how there was a pretty vigorous pushback against that proposal.
Mhm.
I think I kind of took that as a reading of Lake Public Health Awareness is doing okay in Acton. There was a 2/3 majority vote in support of basically not meddling with anything that would, and I think either Carl or I talked to all of you maybe before that vote to see if you could support it, but it was basically maintaining the status quo of the resource protection zoning, and that's what we were able to do.
Mhm. All right.
What is poll attendees?
I just thought it might be nice to say to you, just to go around to any specific environmental hotspot. No, you know, just have an attitude. You know, I almost didn't put it on there, but it's just, you know, I know Bill has a real interest in forestry as an issue, or forestry practices as an issue, and for a long time we had gravel as as a hot one, and it's still there. I mean, it hasn't gone away at all. I mean, you have all this prep stuff, and those gravel pits aren't getting any smaller up there, and yet they don't seem to be on anybody's. They don't hit the news or anything. They just seem to be, they're digging gravel, and you know. And yet the Great Bay, you know, I was down in the Great Bay area on Sunday, and somebody is saying, you know, the oyster beds aren't any good. They're really still getting hit, you know. So, I don't know.
No, it's not, you know, there used to be a big one off the Oyster River, and there's just not enough fresh water coming in.
Yeah. And why is the fresh water not being held, you know? I mean, gravel banks hold water, you know. We had that with Pepin's Pit, you know, we talked about the capacity of that gravel to act as a hydraulic dam, but it's just.
I don't know about the commercial people, but I mean, the only big one left is the one at the mouth of Sturgeon Creek.
Mhm.
That's more or less natural. I guess there are people growing them on ropes and stuff. At least the oysters show up in restaurants, but I'm saying that they're from Great Bay.
And, you know,
Show and tell.
oh,
I didn't bring anything,
No,
other than
I-
my
No, no,
cards.
Did you guys used to bring cookies?
no,
Okay.
no, we used to just to bring a story that might be related to, or something in Acton history that had to do with conservation. It just, sometimes people liked it, you know, just the idea of what's an issue. I remember bringing in a agricultural report from 1860, the census reports of how much produce was grown in Acton and Lebanon. It would scare the shit out of you. You know, the fact
There
that
you go, there's some ninja men.
there's some ninja men.
Found their way into, my granddaughter probably stuffed them
That's
in
funny.
my bag.
But it's just something we did, you know, it just as a way of,
That's the stone right there.
okay, so you got.
So there's my show and tell. I
Sam
brought a
Willie.
copy of what I put on Samuel Willie's stone.
I'll let 'em-
Pass it around, see, and there's the bill. I even got a copy of the bill.
Now we just gotta get
I
put up.
give the original to the town.
There you go.
And in real life, it looks really good.
And it's not, you know, it's, you know, it's nice to report on if anybody's taking a walk
He's
with
a
a
bendable
group.
guy, we could play.
Doesn't have his birth date on it.
Well, it should, that, I may not have his birthday. I tried to keep it as close to the original as possible.
So what war did he fight in?
Civil.
Civil.
Oh, civil. I
No,
was
he's
gonna say.
42 years old and died in 18, so you can figure out his birth.
Yeah.
through the-
There was records in the library at one time on a survey or a poll of the available soldiers for the Civil War enactment. And that was useful, you know, and I've got the copy of that somewhere around, you know, and it was useful to determine dates, and some of them, they actually put what company they served in, so
Yeah.
it picks up that information.
I-
We're lucky that people in Frost collected that stuff, and Olive got that stuff out of the state, or sent for the Attorney General's office to get part of it. And, I mean, it's, you have to validate it, you know, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
so, it's an interesting
I will,
process.
I'll give this information, Wes, to the selectmen and ask for a copy of it for our own records. And these are the same lists, they're just arranged
One's
differently.
alphabetical,
Yeah, I don't know if we want to make
The other one's
I
by
don't
cemetery.
know if you want to make a declaratory statement about it. I mean, it's not for something, the problem with that kind of stuff is that, you know, like Shapley has it on their website. You know, unless we want to sit down and really try to validate this. I mean, this is basically,
Well, this is about as valid as it's present
bad.
day.
yeah, it's just like, I was going to ask you, because my mind is gone. Nason's, where the big pine is, what's the name of the road? That's off the Page Road, is it not? It goes it goes down off, that's the one where there's only one grave out in there? It's
Oh,
got that great big.
Perkins.
No, that's
That's-
Perkins. Benjamin Nason. You got that on your cards?
I don't know if
I think there's
got it.
actually two in there. I think Jacob's out there too, but you know which one I mean. It's, you park in the ditch.
I'm trying to think where the Page Road is. You threw out the Page, Sam Page Road? Oh,
Sorry. Yeah, I actually
that's
got,
the Nason,
got,
that's the Nason Road.
wait a second, I'll run out in the car and get a.
That's the Nason Road. Isn't that the Nason Road? It runs between,
think it could be.
it runs between Goose Pond Road and
Nason
Sam Page Road. Yeah, that's the Nason Road. It's, Jonathan Nathan, I think. Because these are no longer in order, because I've fiddled around with them, so I probably won't be able to find him right off.
Those are all ones your mom did?
Yeah. Yeah, she did all these. Lorraine Yetton took it over from, Garish, not David Garish, his father. Paul Garish, there, I'll get it. Lorraine Yetton took over doing the veterans flags from Paul Garish. They put out 45 flags. My mother started helping Lorraine do it. I helped find some of the cemeteries when I was 12, 13 years old. The Avery Cemetery was one of the ones I found. They couldn't find it and I found it. That's out at the end of the H Road.
How many flags did you put on now?
Two.
Yeah.
Oh, and I can't remember now now we put out almost a whole gross. It's, so it's like 132 or 130, I'd have to count up.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the Nason
Oh,
Road.
excuse me, this is it here.
yeah, I thought it was on this one.
Oh, you got it on the other side of Goose Pond.
Yeah, I thought it was down here.
This is Goose Pond, yeah, it's on this road, that's the Nason Road, it's called the Nason
Okay,
Road.
okay.
So, they haven't changed the name of it yet.
No,
Yeah,
they
it's-
paved-
it's
they
not too
paved it.
far
It's
You're
not
right.
dirt
It's-
anymore.
I think it's along that dead square.
It's where the old dump used to be.
Well, you've got me.
Yeah.
Where's the old dump up in
There's
there?
big rocks in front
Right,
of it.
right.
And, because they logged up in there a few years back, it's got a great big huge bull pine right in the middle of the cemetery. I mean, it's like,
So that is the Nason Road, and that's the Benjamin.
yep, that's the Nason Road, yep. I'm looking for his card, but I haven't.
But that would have the properties. This the town forest? I think this one is.
So we found,
So that's, it is quite a ways down from this end.
we found a marsh
There's a little
cemetery
piece
that
of
has a
it on the other
veteran in
side.
it.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
found, this is just
I think this
recently,
one
we
is.
found
Yeah, it's actually
Sandman
quite-
Cemetery
this
that has a
little one that-
a
Oh, it's-
veteran in it.
Oh,
That's
it's this
actually
little
right
piece.
in the middle
Yeah.
of
Yeah, so
Robert
it's this one and
Hutchins'
this
old
one.
field right there on Milton Mills Road.
Yeah,
But we didn't realize that that was a veteran.
Okay, so
buried
that is
there.
contiguous.
One
all the
next
way
to
up
the
through.
road, that cemetery right
That,
there.
that one, we've always put a flag in.
No, but where the trees are in the middle of the field.
Way out in the middle of the field, there's another veteran buried out there,
Where's this?
the Sandman's cemeteries, the two Sandman cemeteries that are on Robert,
Yeah.
on Robert Hutchins' old. Now, somebody else owns that land now. The guy that has that camper owns all of that. So,
Somebody's lost.
Okay.
Somebody just pulled in here. Well, can we bring this to a close for this evening?
Yeah, and the only thing I might want to add is you might want to put a caveat on that that says this is subject to review.
these by cemetery.
You know those-
probably. That's what I should do.
That cemetery list, it's not written in
Oh, yeah,
stone.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
to say, you know, it's, because we,
Okay. Can we set a date for our next meeting then?
yeah, we can do that.
When do we go regular meetings?
Third Tuesday.
Good Tuesday.
Third Tuesday, where we are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Should
just,
be the third Tuesday and,
If that falls in Acton Fair, I won't be able to attend.
Yeah, it's a wait.
Just letting you know ahead of time.
I don't think-
anybody got a pocket calendar on?
yeah, I don't think I will be here
I didn't
either
bring
that
one.
third Tuesday. I don't think I'd be around.
I work at the fair, I'll be taking in fancies that night, it's on a Tuesday night.
Okay.
Oh, well, we could skip it and just leave it till September.
Might be easier.
What's that?
August is kind of a busy month for people. Maybe we
Pick up again in September?
pick up again in September.
Sure.
Yeah.
Third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday in September.
Yeah, that'll give me time to,
September. All right. Same time, same place.
I'll let Stephen know. that would be,
Okay. Leslie, I think before I do an agenda, I'm gonna check with you. This is a pretty impressive agenda. I'm not sure I could match it.
Well, I used to keep a lot of board minutes for the state in different ways. And used to have to publish them and put them and get them, web them and the whole business, but, you know, I've done it for so much, I'm tired of it. But,
I mean, if I didn't put all these.
one of the things that I didn't bring up that might be nice is just to compare, this committee with what other committees are doing.
Other conservation committees, yeah.
I
We can
just,
certainly do that. We have a pretty good rapport with the Alfred Conservation Committee and the Lebanon one, because some of those folks are on the
Yeah.
land trust board, so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
pretty
it's
easy to
just,
touch base with
it's
them.
just, not that I,
It sounds like we'll fit right in those.
okay.
What I can tell, across most of the state, anybody that's active is interested in building a trail. Because we had at least, MEAC had at least 2 things on trail.
Oh, you're
I don't
kidding.
know if there's a card in here for him.
You ever looked at the MCC in terms of if you get your act together on that? They do,
Should let
they
Virginia
do it
go.
for, I don't know if they did it one for, they were thinking about doing from Alfred, and I don't think they ever did it, but they do trails for other towns and other nonprofits, and obviously most of the state park trails are done with the Maine Conservation Corps.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we,
Well, they run-
they're good at what they do,
Oh, yeah.
They're ambitious
Very good
kids,
at what they
'cause-
do.
you know. I've given them education courses and stuff like that before, you know, but,
Oh, they're good. Good program.
yes, it is.
It's good to see young folks out doing physical work in the woods. you know.
It's good, they get to meet each other from long distances, and it's just good. I mean, New Hampshire does things a little different in terms of their volunteer stuff, but
Should let
that
Virginia go
program's
on.
been good in Maine for a long time.
We should let Virginia go on.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Do we need a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
Okay, second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Eh?
Okay. All righty.